Hello everybody. Welcome to our second lesson for 11th grade here in Aprendo en Casa. I am teacher Jonnathan Elizondo, and as always, it's a pleasure for me to be here with you today. Before we start our class, remember that we need to get all the materials ready to learn and explore the English language. As usual, we're going to be using a pencil, all right? If you don't want to use a pencil, you can use a pen, no problem about that. If you use a pencil, it's a good idea to have a pencil sharpener near your place of work and also your eraser. And most important, your notebook. If you can use your English notebook, that's a great idea. If not, a piece of paper will do. Now, if you're more technological like me, I like my tablet, you can also use your tablet, smartphone, a computer to take notes and then save them for later, right? Now, the place where we are you sure you're in the right place? Look for the right spot, a place where you have enough space to sit down, to sit comfortably, to have all your materials. It can be the table, it can be the floor, it can be your sofa, but make sure you have everything ready. And also important, invite people at home. I know you might be there with your mother, your father, your siblings. Send a text message to your friends and tell them to be ready. That lesson has already started. Now, what do we have for today? Let's look at this slide that I have prepared for you. You see the emoji that is reading? Today we're going to be reading. And in order to do that, we're going to identify facts and opinions in a written text about digital footprint. And also, we're going to determine important ideas and supportive details in a written text about digital footprint. All right? Now, before we move into today's lesson, more into the activities that we have for the day, what is it that we have been studying in the past weeks? Let's recall. I remember you watched a video with teacher Laura 2 weeks ago about STEAM careers. With me, you also worked on that, right? Pros and cons of STEAM careers. Then you also worked on pros and cons of technology. And today, in the previous lesson, you talked about the use of smartphones in social contexts and how sometimes they affect our socialization process. Now, my topic for today is digital footprint. Yes, you heard right, digital footprint. Two words that together form one concept. We're going to explore that today, all right? Now, do you know what it means? No? Okay, I have prepared a little mind map here, and we're going to brainstorm some ideas. So you see digital footprint. What ideas come to your mind? There in your notebook, you can actually write down some of those ideas and complete the mind map yourself, a brainstorming activity. So in the digital footprint, we can talk about technology. Digital, technology, right? Those words go hand in hand. We also talk about personal information. Just as our regular footprint, the digital footprint is also about personal information. We also talk about the internet, another important concept that is inside this huge idea that we're exploring today. And then we have identity, all right? So digital footprint is about our identity. Now, maybe you have an idea, but you're not very sure about that. So I want to invite you to watch this short video that will give you more ideas on the use of digital footprint and the concept in general. Okay? Let's watch the video. Do you have a clear idea now? Yes? You saw that digital footprint is permanent. It's nothing that we can erase, okay? Now let's look at the dictionary definition that I have for you today. Digital footprint is one's unique set of digital activities, actions, and communications that leave a data trace on the internet or on a computer or other digital device and can identify the particular user or the device, okay? So that is digital footprint. There is another concept that is very similar that we also use, digital shadow. That is a synonym for digital footprint. So you can say, this is my digital footprint or this is my digital shadow, okay? Now, we're going to be reading today, and let's imagine that your teacher in your high school assigned you to prepare a presentation on this particular concept. Remember that when we're going to do an oral presentation, we need to plan. So in order to plan, you found this great article on the British Council about digital footprint. You're going to extract the main ideas and the details from there to prepare your oral presentation. So today we're going to be doing that particular part. But before we read, it's important to get familiar with the vocabulary that we're going to use. And in this case, it's going to be synonyms. That's another word I want you to learn today, synonym. A synonym is actually a set of words that are spelled differently but mean almost the same thing. All right? Like digital shadow and digital footprint. They are synonyms because they mean almost the same. All right? Now, I'm going to present some vocabulary, as I said. You're going to do a matching exercise. You need to match each of the words on the left to the definition or the synonym, to the right. Let's look at the matching that I have for you. So you see that to the left we have the words to reveal, a function, complex, a trail, details, suitable, to abandon, a recruiter. And to the right, we have words that mean almost the same. Can you match the different words? I hope at home you're actually doing that in your notebook or in the piece of paper you chose for today. Okay? Let's do the first one together. So we have to reveal. It's actually to show. Now the word a function. A function is, what is it? A purpose, okay? Now look at the difference between to reveal and a function. Do you see that word at the beginning? When we see to, that means we have a verb. When we see a, that means we have a noun, okay? Now the next one, complex. It's complicated. Now complex is an adjective. Let's continue. A trail. What do you think is the definition for a trail? A trail, a track. Almost the same thing. Then we have details. What are details? Details can be considered information. And what is something suitable? Suitable is appropriate. The next word is to abandon. Now we have only two options left. To abandon. Is it to leave or an employer? It is to leave. Okay? And finally, of course, a recruiter or an employer, which are also synonyms. All right? Now, using these words over here, or some of these words, I prepared a completion activity for you. Here is the activity. You have 3 sentences with 4 spaces, and you have 5 words in the word bank. Now, that means that you only need to use 4 of those words. One of the words is left out. And it's very important to do this exercise because we can use the words in context, which is also important to understand the meaning. So let's read number 1. Our search history always leaves a lot about ourselves. How would you complete that one? Our search history always leaves a trail. Very good. And that trail, what does it do? It reveals a lot about ourselves. Number 2, the main of search engines is to help you find information. The main function, the main complex, or the main recruiter? the main function or the main purpose, right? And the last one, we have 2 words left. We have complex and recruiter. So some websites, such as banks, require you to have very passwords. How do those passwords need to be? We need an adjective, right? So they need to be very complex. Very good. Okay? So now, in order to continue with the next steps for the reading part, we are going to take a look at the reading. But this is a little bit long or longer than usual, so we're going to look at it in different sections. The first part is going to be to get the main idea of the whole reading, and I have 2 questions for you. In the second part, we're going to look at 3 questions for specific details, and the last part, other 2 questions for more specific details. Are you ready? Okay, so here we're going to look at the different sentences that we have, or the question that I have for you. When you go online, you, and this is the main idea of the text, when you go online, you can choose about information or what information is recorded about you. You leave a trail showing where you've been and what you've been doing, or you send information to recruiters. Now this you can actually kind of guess from the topic and everything. Since we're going to guess the main idea, I'm going to give you only 30 seconds to read and find the answer to this question, okay? 30 seconds. So here is the reading, and 30 seconds start now. Perfect. Okay, so when you go online, what is the answer to that question? Yes, the answer is you leave a trail showing where you've been and what you've been doing. You can see actually in the first sentence of this paragraph, every time you go online, you leave a trail. There is the answer. Now let's look at the next question that I have. This is still general information. According to this same text, if people search for information about you, they can find your, I think you already know the answer, right? Your bookmark websites, your passwords, or your digital footprint. Okay? Here I have the text. Try to look for it. All right? I'm not going to give you extra time here because we already read the text. So just while I'm talking here, try to look for that answer. According to the text, if people search for information about you, they can find your, and it's very important, look at the title, look at the image that we have there. That's another strategy we can use in reading exercises. Okay, do you have the answer for that one? Yes, they can find your digital footprint. Yes, which is the main topic for us today. Okay, now we're going to go into the next part of the reading, which is basically looking at details from the reading. Remember that we have just identified the main ideas of the text, and now it's the reading part with the details. So we're going to move a little bit further into the reading, and this time you're going to look at 6 steps to be careful about the digital footprint, okay? Before that, let's look at the questions that I have for you. 3 questions here. Someone could pretend to be you if you don't log off when posting a comment, abandoning a site, or sharing a photo. Number 2, you should make your passwords difficult to guess by making them complex, using all capital letters, including a symbol. And number 3, if a user reports inappropriate content, the other users want to read what they have said, web managers usually react immediately, and recruiters often respond. Now, this is the trick, and this is actually another strategy. If you're taking a test, like a proficiency test or a test at school, you can actually, it's important to know that question number 1, the information that I need for question number 1 is going to be before the information I need for question number 2, And that one before information for question number 3. So that is something important. This time, since the text is a little longer, I'm going to give you 1 minute. Okay? You have 1 minute. And here you have only question 1. Later we're going to look at questions 2 and 3. So 1 minute starting now. All right. Do you have the answer for that one? Someone could pretend to be you if you don't log off. When? Now, log off, maybe you're wondering about that word. Log off is to actually sign out, right? So, what can they do? If you don't log off when abandoning a site, they could pretend to be you. So imagine that I am using Facebook, I leave it open in my computer, I don't log off. When someone else comes, they can use my Facebook account. Question number 2. Question number 2 said, you should make your passwords difficult to guess by. So, what is one strategy to make your passwords difficult according to the reading? Do you have the answer? Yes, by making them complex, okay? Making them difficult. And question number 3. If a user reports inappropriate content, what can other users do? They can want to read what they have said, or the web managers usually react immediately, or recruiters often respond. Do you have the answer? Yes? Okay, yes. A web manager usually reacts immediately. Okay? So, we have finished the first part of the reading. And as you saw, question number 1 was about tip number 1. Question number 2 about tip number 2, and question number 3 about tip number 3. Very important to know. Always the information that you need is in order, the same order of the questions. Now for this next part, I have 2 questions for you. Okay, let's look at the questions. Question number 4. To remember your favorite websites, you can use the bookmark function, mobile device, or browser. And think carefully before sharing your favorite website online, personal information online, or comments online. Are you ready? I'm going to give you again 1 minute to read, because we're going to read now the tips 4, 5, and 6. Are you ready? Okay, here is the reading, and you have 1 minute. All right. Do you have the answer for this one? To remember your favorite websites according to this reading, what can you use? Yes, you can use the bookmark function. Very good. Question number 5. Think carefully before sharing. What do you need to be careful about? Yes, sharing the personal information online. Actually, that is tip number 6, right? It says protect your identity online. Okay? So now that we have done that, we have gone through the whole reading part. Remember, your teacher asked you to prepare a presentation about footprint. You extracted the information, but now it's important to see if the text has opinions or facts. Okay? So we're going to look at that. And for that, I have the first paragraph of the text again. So look at the first paragraph, and I'm going to show you one sentence, and I want you to identify, is that sentence a fact or is that sentence an opinion? So look at that one. Every time you go online, you leave a trail. Is that a fact? Is that something that actually happens, or is that the writer's opinion? You're right. That is a fact. That is something that actually happens, and we know that that has a name, right? Let's look at the second sentence that I underlined for you. It reveals where you have been, how long you stayed, and what you've been doing there. Okay? So, is that a fact or is that an opinion? Yes, that is a fact. It's actually kind of telling me what happens with that digital footprint. Okay? Now, the next sentence. This shouldn't necessarily be worrying. Is that a fact or is that an opinion? What do you think? Yes, it looks more like an opinion, right? And that's actually why I underlined it with a different color. Because in this case, it's the suggestion, and it's what the writer is telling us. According to all the information, this is what I think, that you shouldn't worry a lot about this. But it is advisable to be aware. Is that a fact or an opinion? Well, this is also an opinion. Some writers might think it is advisable to be aware of your digital footprint. Some writers might say, no, you don't have to worry about that, okay? And the last sentence that I have for you, to be cautious and sensible when you are online. That is also an opinion, right? That is what the person thinks about, okay? So, we have come to the end of the whole analysis of the text. We extracted the details, we extracted the information. Now, what have we been doing today? We learned the topic, right? We learned the concept, we explored the reading. Now, most important, we learned that we need to be mindful about our work in digital networks and in online in general, and that will help us be better citizens of the world. So I think it's time for us to begin our self-assessment. Okay? Let's look at the self-assessment for the day. Thumbs up or thumbs down? You know I am a fan of thumbs up, thumbs down because they are very easy to identify. Did I pay attention in today's class? Did you pay attention? Yes? Or were you distracted with something? Okay, great. I hope you did. Did I follow instructions? All the instructions, when I asked you to read and find the answer, when I asked you to extract details, were you able to do that? And did I complete the task? Were you actually able to complete the whole task? Yes? Okay, now we're going to look at the learning for today. Okay, what is it that we learned? Did we achieve it? Is it in progress or not achieved that much? Okay, let's look at the first one. I determined important ideas and supported details in a written text about the digital footprint. You achieved it? Is it in progress or not achieved? Okay, I hope it is achieved, right? The second one. I identified facts and opinions in a written text about the digital footprint. How did you do with that one? Were you able to actually identify opinions or differentiate them, opinions from facts? Yes? Okay. So, now, one more thing I want you to think about. If you have to identify opinions and facts in a text, one good idea is to look for expressions. Remember that we have been learning, and last week, I think we looked at some expressions like, in my opinion, I think, I believe, I strongly believe. So we can look for those phrases that are over there that actually can help us, okay? Now I have 2 more questions for you today. Question number 1. What did I learn today for life? Remember that the idea with our classes is not only that you learn something for the class and something for English, it's for life. What did you learn today? Let me tell you that something I learned is that everything I do online, everything I do on the internet cannot be deleted. I delete it and I don't see it anymore. But other people might have taken screenshots. Other people might have already copied and broadcasted that information as we saw in the video, right? My second question for you today is, how can I be a better English learner? Now this one is very interesting. As a learner, we need to learn to learn ourselves and get to know ourselves, right? So how can you be a better English learner? Maybe paying more attention, underlining words, okay? Now, it was a pleasure for me to be here today. We have to go. I am teacher Jonnathan Elizondo, and we'll see you in the next time. Bye-bye.